The Charleston Classic as well back in November. Underway in the Sun Dome, and the Owls control the opening tap. Here's our first look at Josh Brown. USF in rebuilding mode under first-year head coach Brian Gregory. Playing better basketball as of late too, Mark.
Yeah, they are coming off a hard-fought three-point loss on the road at UConn.
Just one conference win this year, 5 to shoot for USF. Rose may have gotten away with a travel, tosses up a brick, and the rebound by Jiggins.
That's the kind of possession I think Brian Gregory wants, kind of a slow-down pace.
Bulls roster built of graduate transfers this season, 3 in fact, playing significant minutes. David Collins, a freshman, number 11 in white, has been rock solid in his first campaign. And right on cue, the triple.
Early look at an outstanding freshman who's getting better, not game by game, but minute by minute.
Markey started his last 6 games and scored double figures 3 straight. Starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in his first season. Samuel the rebound. Collins in transition. Forces that one in. 5-0 USF. Temple's suffered through a lot of nail-biting type games this year. 11 contests decided by less than 5 points. And on the road, always tough to pick up that conference victory. Shiz Alston Jr. directing traffic. And the first points of the afternoon for the Owls.
I really like the way Alston and Brown play with each other. Brown was out all last season. Alston became the point guard. It's almost like Fran Dunphy has the luxury of 2 point guards.
Top of the key, Banks. Side rim, Brown claims the board. Quentin Rose from 15. And tapped out. Back to USF. There's a look at Coach Dunphy. 12th season in Philly. 7 NCAA tournament appearances. 29 years overall as a head coach. And he knows what he's doing with the Owls.
What did he tell us today? He says, we don't set the tempo, we adjust to the tempo. I kind of like that.
I do too. Dunphy with a nice recruiting class coming in. 17, Samuel off the mark. Owls trail it by 3 here in the early going. Obi Anechionya back from an illness, suffered from the flu, missed their last game against East Carolina, and a good sign for the Owls early if he connects.
He is the definition really of a stretch 4, and why people at the next level are going to give him a good look.
Really? And he certainly has the size. When the shot is falling, he becomes a very dangerous player. Chechekich down low, back iron. Anechionya thought about it. So will Brown. Brown launches. Collins, the rebound. Jiggins, an open look, stop and pop. Tied at 5, nearly 4 minutes in here at the Sun Dome.
Both teams opened in man-to-man.
And Alston Jr. splashes one in from 16.
I think Temple much more comfortable with early offense than the Bulls.
If for USF, you come into this game 8-17, just 1 league win. You're trying to hang around, make this one tight, and then steal.
Quadrant 1 and 2 records, and they have had some outstanding Quadrant 1 wins here early in the season that they are reaping the benefits from. And one of the reasons why Joe Lunardi has them in that next 4 out is because of the quality of wins. Who else, Roy, has beaten Clemson, Auburn, Wichita State on the road at SMU, which ended that streak that the Ponies had at home? But the Owls also have some warts on their resume. 4 quadrant 3 losses.
Brown travels, 7-6 our score. Auburn right now, for those that have missed it and missed the Bruce Pearl boat this year, in first place in the SEC and could be in position to be a 1 seed by the time it's all said and done. Clemson could be as high as a 3. Both Tigers in the ACC and SEC have a lot of work to do, obviously, between now and the end of their respective conference seasons. But to your point, that really bolsters the possibilities for Temple, despite the fact they're 14-10 as Banks scores his first bucket and the Bulls are back in front.
What did you say about the definition of bubble these days?
Well, I have to remember that for a second, but I don't know that I do.
That you love the fact that you talk about Temple and you say they're a bubble team.
You know
automatically knows what that means.
Yeah. You do, and it means that the resume is good in some places and not as good in others. And you see right now, according to Joe Lenardi, our ESPN bracketologist, Temple in the midst of the next 4 out. So, bring it back to this game today, and for Fran Dunphy, it's vital to win because a loss would be crushing on the postseason resume.
Follow this logic. It's an 18-game league schedule. When you play golf, it's 18 holes. This is not a birdie hole for Temple, but they cannot afford a bogey here.
You've been sitting on that one all week. That's pretty good. Banks, all net. The transfer from Penn State. He started 44 games there with 5 early points, and the Bulls' lead is 4.
Banks is one of those streaky shooters. 3 or more made threes 11 times this season.
But you can hear Lenardi, Billis, Jay Will, Seth Greenberg. As we approach Selection Sunday, and you look at the Temple resume, you compare it to others with 5 seconds to shoot. If you lose against USF as Brown connects, that'll make it a 2-point game. They're going to say, no, this team can't make it in the field of 68 with that kind of loss that late in the season.
Well, that's exactly right. And everybody wants to talk about the fact that Temple has 10 losses. It's not the amount of losses. If you play the 5th toughest schedule in the country, it stands to reason you would have more losses. Yeah. It's the bad losses. And the Owls, unfortunately, they have some.
Dunphy knows all too well. Close games, close losses, big wins. A compelling resume at this point in February, and a lot of basketball left to be played.
I think it's the most unique resume going right now.
Enechionia back to the basket, feeling healthy. Skip pass to Austin Jr. And inside, 2 free throws coming up for numeral 0.
Well, I love that little 2-man action. Obi measured the defense, almost invited the double team for the kick out, and then Alston returns the favor. Great interior passing.
First foul on David Collins, first team foul against the Bulls. Ernest Aflakby for Temple already with 2 personals on that side of the ledger.
And Roy, one of the struggles for Enechionia, as we take a look at Brian Gregory, I had them earlier in the year at Georgia where he made 7 threes. In his next 2 games, he went 0 for 11 from bonus land. It's been that way his entire career. Kind of a roller coaster of production. A little 3-quarter trap to change things up. I like it.
Eleven to 10, USF looking for Manderson down low. The 5th-year senior loses it out of bounds. Last touch by the Owls. Don't forget this afternoon on ESPN, another Sonic blockbuster. And it's a top 5 matchup in the Big Ten. Purdue and Michigan State, 3 versus 4. 4 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Saturday Showcase is presented by 5 Hour Energy. Spartans survived at Iowa last week. Purdue upset at home against Ohio State. Back to USF. They're making Temple.
I think the pace of the game right now favors USF. This is what Brian Gregory needs. He needs a game in the 60s. His team dead last in the American, averaging 59 points a game.
It's would say the same about Temple, but the last 4 over 80 per contest for the Owls. We grilled Fran Dunphy on the improvement. He said, you know what? We're just making more shots. Sometimes it's that simple. Off the steal, Samuel gave it right back in a double dribble.
Both teams play giveaway.
Checking in for Temple, number 22, Devondre Perry.
Devondre Perry will check in for the first time for the Owls as you see the updated American Conference standings. Top 3 in the field as it stands now. Houston considered a bubble team by Joe Lunardi. Tulsa probably with a lot of work to do, and the Owls certainly on the bubble as well. SMU could get there too.
And they're on that bubble because of the wins, the quality of wins, the high quality of wins. How about Tulsa at 7-5? Kind of a underrated team. You and I were there Thursday night on that strange overtime win against Tulane.
Talented roster, a postseason team. The question is, which tournament are we talking about? Resume needs some work and likely a win against a team like Cincinnati down the stretch for a valid case for the Golden Hurricane.
Yeah, I think they've got to win the conference tournament. That's their entryway.
3 to shoot, baseline. All net, Malik Martin, the USC transfer. Boy, he looks the part coming off the bench, does he not?
He has had some games where he disappears, but he was very solid on the road at UConn the other night. 7-5. That's exactly what they need from him.
High ball screen for Shiz. Austin Jr. launches. Count it. That'll tie us up at 13.
All of the Temple guards, and maybe we've been able to say this for the last 30 years about the Temple guards, they always look under control. They always look like they can create their own.
Can I get some love for Pepe Sanchez?
Absolutely, Mark Macon. You can go way back.
Manderson down low was fouled before the show on the quadrant definition, and quadrant 1 in particular. You may ask, well, why are you showing us this now? Well, because Temple is that proverbial bubble squad, and the committee this year is using a new metric to judge teams with similar resumes.
And what does this mean? It means that the selection committee has done a better job of equating the range of wins at home versus on the road. I love it. I think it's much simpler.
Manderson from the baseline at about 10 feet give the Bulls the lead right back. I like it as well because it gives us something more to talk about this time of year, but also I think it does a really solid job of comparing teams and resumes and what does it mean if you beat an RPI team that's ranked 75th on the road versus an RPI team that's ranked 20th at home.
Correct.
Well, guess what? In a lot of situations, it's very similar. Okay, now we have a way to articulate that to the masses.
Because the RPI was too heavy in its domination of resumes in the past. For instance, if you beat the number 49 team at home versus the number 48 team on the road, shouldn't that be in 2 different categories?
Right.
And that's what the quadrant system is providing. Both teams shooting the ball well here in the early going.
Nate Pierre-Louis checks in for the first time for Temple, one of their sparks off the bench this season.
Now that is instant offense. When Nate Pierre-Louis checks in, look for good things to happen for the Owls offensively.
Rose was open for a moment. The pump fake, short, and a late whistle inside against the Bulls.
This is a late whistle, but I thought it was the correct whistle. Malik Martin across the Rose arm. Here's another guy that people at the next level are going to take a look at because of his size out on the perimeter. 6'8", can shoot the 3 ball from NBA distance. And he's played better as of late, on a roll. Last 3 games averaging 18 points a game, 7 of 14 from beyond the arc.
We're talking about Quentin Rose, number 13 for Temple, just a sophomore. Dangerous pass nearly stolen, the up and under, and the finish, Nate Pierre-Louis.
Why is it when you're playing well, the ball seems to find you? That was a poor pass by a Flack P, and somehow it ended up in the hands of Pierre-Louis.
Brown traveled. Freshman from Plainfield, New Jersey. Instant offense.
Poor pass, knocked away, but Pierre-Louis not only with the gather, but the finish.
Owls back in front, 16-15, and with possession. Rose, the floater. Owls by 3.
Nifty little mid-range leaner. I like that curling action offensively. I'd like to see more teams get involved in that. There's nothing wrong with that little 10-foot leaner.
The popularity of the mid-range game, perhaps a lost art in college basketball and hoops in general. And the shot clock and a foul.
Yeah, I thought Perry got away with a foul earlier in the sequence. It's almost like it was a possession that Perry said, I need to get a foul.
Perry's first, team's 5th. Well, Paul Simon playing in the background. You can call me out. Okay, that'll get the crowd going. That may be a first for me. You ever seen that video where it's him and Chevy Chase?
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious. Halfway through our first half, Owls lead by 3 on the road. Collins with 5 early points, has 4 to shoot. Double teamed. And turns it over. That'll be a shot clock violation. Was trying to spot Martin, who couldn't corral the pass.
Late in a shot clock like that, never dribble toward a corner. Always dribble to the middle of the floor.
First year for Brian Gregory, stops at Georgia Tech and Dayton, was an assistant at Michigan State. And you deemed it to be a really good hire when we were talking about this game several days ago. And I would agree. He understands what it takes, has some name recognition, a lot of experience. He's won, he's lost, he's learned from some of those losing seasons perhaps that he incurred. But for USF, trying to build from the ground up, pretty good kit.
Well, he talked to me earlier in the year about being able to stabilize the program off the floor first. And then he brought in the 3 grad transfers to stabilize the program on the court. The next step, Roy, they got to get better players.
And that'll come with recruiting. Not only the high school and AAU circuit, but also the grad transfers for the next cycle. Samuel will launch one. Pops out to Pierre-Louis, 1-on-2. And Austin Jr. cannot save it. Now later tonight, Spurs and the Warriors square off in the NBA Saturday primetime game on ABC. Our coverage tips off with NBA Countdown at 8. Tip at 8:30. You can always watch on the ESPN app as well. And
how about that drama last night in the Detroit game?
Blake Griffin finally losing. And ironically, it comes to the hands of his old team. The NBA is so compelling right now, as you and I have discussed in a couple of games. And later tonight, Golden State maybe in an even better spot now that Cleveland has sold the farm to try to improve its chances mid-season, and that's a tough thing to do.
Get off that list and move up the ladder.
The Red Raiders, for my money, the best team in the Big 12 this year. Corner triple is short.
How good has Evans been?
Insane. Owls with an opportunity to extend their lead. Rose is too strong. Šečekić the rebound. Nikola Šečekić, 7-2. Number 41 in white.
Be interesting to see if Temple can pick up the pace of this game.
Necchionia the steal, but then gave it right back off the thigh.
I think they're going to keep the shot clock at 15, ruling that Necchionia never had possession.
Obi Necchionia missed the last game against East Carolina. A blowout win for the Owls. Suffering from the flu earlier this week. Did not practice Monday nor Tuesday. Did some light work Thursday after that victory. Seven to shoot. Siekiewicz down low, too strong.
That's one he's got to finish. Room service from Collins.
Hot start for both sides, has cooled off here the last 5 minutes.
That was a great rotation by Collins to close out on Enechionia.
Rose for three. A rebound by Samuel. Jiggets, a quiet start, side of the backboard. Beautiful ball movement by the Owls. And a turnover as Moorman shuffled his feet.
Well, you can almost sense that Temple is doing everything to pick up the tempo.
Manderson checks in. Siekiewicz goes to the Bulls bench. Temple, the more talented team. Temple with better athletes, better chemistry on its roster this season. You would expect that to be the case on the road, trying to create your own energy. Banks on the move, can't connect. Moorman the rebound. The freshman starting to get more playing time these last 2 weeks. Coming off his first career double-double in that win against East Carolina. Enechionia short. Samuel attacking. Outside to Banks, an open look.
Speaking of room service, excellent job by Samuel. Neither team playing very well offensively right now.
Getting reasonable looks. Ball's not going in.
USF's man defense pretty solid.
Yeah, Louis off the glass. And he smoked the defender. One of the more underrated first-year players in the country, I would argue, for Temple, Nate Pierre-Louis. And the counter on the other end by Peyton Banks. A chance for three.
Nate Pierre-Louis averaging almost 11 points a game in league play. Can beat you at different levels off the bounce. Also knocks down the three ball at 36%. But good start for Peyton Banks today as well.
Banks with 7 points, make it 8. The first USF basket in almost 6 minutes. Jump stop for Rose, coughed it up. Can he get it back? He cannot, but a jump ball will give it to USF.
Just again, dribbling to trouble. Too much traffic in that paint. Guys are going one bounce too many.
Rose to the bench, and Chiz Alston Jr. checks back in for Temple.
But because of the improvement of Nate Pierre-Louis, Fran Dumpy is actually pretty deep now in that backcourt. He almost had to live with those three guys, but Pierre-Louis is earning more and more playing time.
Stephon Jiggets, leading scorer for USF, has been held scoreless in this first half. 0 for 3 from the field. And a chance to change that here at the line.
Now there's an older player taking advantage of a freshman. Stephon Jiggets, who has been USF's most consistent and best player all year long, with a little step back head fake right here. And it's just enough to get Pierre-Louis to bite.
Jiggets a transfer from Fairleigh Dickinson to double figures in 7 straight games.
82% the line. It's news when he misses.
News? The headline tomorrow in the local newspapers, right? The Times.
Yeah, we've got a 94% shooter at the line in this game.
Chiz Alston Jr., the best in the American.
Thought I'd set you up on that one.
Token three-quarter court pressure here by the Bulls in a 1-point game. Moorman thinking about a bounce pass and a late whistle again. Baseline as Enechionia was fouled.
Be interesting to see if Bill Jacobson gives 2 shots on this, and I don't think he will.
First on Samuel, 3rd team foul against Brian Gregory. club.
Ball fake into the paint. The bounce pass. Samuel across the arm. Close.
Under 5 to go in the first. Pierre-Louis has found something on that left side. Free throws upcoming after the token slam by Anecchionia.
Does he have a quick first step or what?
It is lethal.
Wow. Here's a good look at the freshman from Plainfield, New Jersey.
Second foul on David Collins. Pierre-Louis with 4 points, make it 5. Big Monday headed your way. It's an ACC clash, 7 o'clock Eastern, Notre Dame and 21st ranked North Carolina. Over on ESPN and also the ESPN app if you're out and about multitasking. Heels, the Fighting Irish, all a part of Big Monday, presented by Joseph A. Bank. 1 of 2 at the stripe for Pierre-Louis. And a foul down low against Temple.
That's a needless foul.
First on Anecchionia.
Especially when your opponents are in the bonus, fouling 90 feet from the basket.
To the line for the Bulls. He'll shoot 21.
Bulls in the double bonus the rest of the way. And Banks will get the bonus free throw.
When you take a look at USF's numbers in league play, last in field goal percentage, their free throw percentage is solid, but they're 5th in the league in three-point percentage. 35% a game. They just don't shoot a lot of them.
Peyton Banks in double figures for the 16th time this season here in our first half.
Zone for the first time by the Bulls. 2-3.
Austin wide open and nearly an air ball. Jiggins traveled.
Just got a little quick in transition. Both teams a little sloppy on the offensive end. I found it interesting to see where Temple put Alston in this zone attack. He's going to play a different role now. It's all about the free throw line and the short corner. Who operates in that area?
Nate Pierre-Louis not the player you want to leave open. I don't care where he is on the court. Austin Jr., elbow jumper, count it. Fouls by 2.
I talked about the interchangeable parts of the perimeter guys for Temple. That was a great illustration. Alston started that possession at the point, but finished it as a scorer inside the zone.
Manderson double team, forced it in. That's one way to do it.
Big guy really doesn't like going over his left shoulder. He almost got dared to do that.
Off the bounce, Josh Brown, silky smooth.
First it was Alston, then it was Brown, but it was the same area of weakness of that zone.
Bulls with just 8 wins this season, hanging around here in our first half at home. Ironically, the only conference win for USF this year coming on the road at Tulane. Manderson on the offensive glass and the stick back.
That's a poor job of team rebounding by Temple. Too many guys with their camera taking pictures.
Manderson with 6, Pierre-Louis back to work.
2 possessions in the zone. Temple scores. Back to man are the Bulls.
Anecchionia. Coming up with it is Peyton Banks. Entertaining start, competitive contests between Bubblicious Temple and USF. Jiggins without a field goal, and that'll continue. With the slam, and there's Mormon.
It's always important to know your role.
Out below, Temple, the 2-point advantage in a back and forth affair in this conference game in the American. Manderson working hard and rewarded. He's got 8.
The scouting report says make Manderson go back over his right shoulder. They're going to have to edit that scouting report.
Tied at 27. Mormon down low, can't connect. Manderson grabs that rebound away from Malik Martin. 8 points, 4 rebounds for the fifth-year senior, Isaiah Manderson. And why not go to the well one more time? Skip pass. Justin Brown rolls it in for 3.
Right now, the best player on the floor is Manderson, both as a scorer and as a helper. Let's keep an eye on this. USF only has 14 fouls. They have fouls to give.
Josh Brown nearly lost the handle. Manderson orchestrating the offense, scoring down low, grabbing rebounds. One-man wrecking for Rose. Tried to slam it home and was fouled in the process. Malik Martin came crashing down. He'll pick up his second.
Not complicated, just spacing offensively and let Rose be creative off the bounce.
Feels like this game just turned into a dunk contest in the last 5 or 6 minutes. You saw Mormon a second ago. Rose taking flight in that last sequence and tosses up a brick at the line. Samuel back in, as well as Damian Moore for Temple. And Mormon, the talented freshman, to the bench.
I mentioned the fouls, Roy, because in the NBA, it's a way of life. Taking fouls each quarter when you have them to give. Hasn't really translated to college yet.
One of 2 at the line for Rose. We spoke with Mike Dunleavy, head coach at Tulane, now in his second season in the Crescent City. And he's got some NBA concepts that he's bringing to the American. Avery Johnson has done that at Alabama in the SEC, but you're looking at 2 for 1, fouls to give, running a lot of set plays. Subtle changes that we'll see from time to time. 10 to shoot. First half winding down in Tampa. Manderson an air ball, and that's outside his range.
Why not give a foul now?
Shot clock is off. Brown, left-handed finish. Nicely done right before our final 20. Mark Wise, Roy Philpott. And an interesting game brewing here in Tampa. Necchionia right out of the gate. The quick trigger off the mark. Owls coming in as a bubble team. USF in last place in the American Conference. A critical game for both sides as Brown buries the 3.
I was just about to ask, is this the beginning of Temple's NCAA tournament right now? These 20 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. Collins lost the handle out of bounds. We say all of this. Temple's won its last 4 games, has victories over Clemson, Auburn, Wichita State, but also bad losses and 10 setbacks overall.
Quadrant 1 record, 4 wins. A lot of teams would kill to have 4 Quadrant 1 wins, but go to the very bottom. They also have 4 warts on their resume.
Ernest Flackby, the basket with those 2 personal fouls, sat on the bench for the majority of our first half, and Temple with 5 quick points in our first 60 seconds. Banks with the roll, but no basket. Offensive foul.
Late whistle. The toughest call of them all, the block charge. Up out of the arc. I think he's in a legal guarding position. I think that's the right call. Nice job by Flackby to become a legal defender there. Good start for the Owls.
Sloppy on that possession. 13 to shoot. It'll stay with Temple.
I thought the pass was on point. Flackby didn't roll to the basket aggressive.
Ernest Flackby, the junior from Ghana. Here's Quentin Rose attacking. Floater and air ball. Flackby rejected by Shachecic. And it'll stay with the Bulls.
Again, Banks dribbles to traffic. Shacheka Cheese there needs to run to a different spot or get out of the way.
To your point, an excellent question. Is this the first NCAA tournament game for the Owls? In many ways it is, despite the fact we're still in early February. A loss to a team like USF. Devastating for the resume. And Quentin Rose says thank you very much.
Wow. The quick hands. And then the ability to fly high. And Brian Gregory needs it. Brian Gregory takes that timeout. Why? Not only to stem the tide, Roy, but his team is not built to score quickly in bunches. They're more of a methodical scoring team.
Jiggets off the glass and a much-needed hoop.
Temple tried to do a little run and jump there. Good ball movement.
That's his first field goal, leading scorer for the USF Bulls. Stephon Jiggets and his career at Fairleigh Dickinson. Rose, little catch and shoot and an air ball. Flackby tried to save it, could not.
We talk about USF as Temple tried to do a little run and jump defensively off the pass. There's the double team, but watch the ball movement. First by Banks and then Collins. The finish by Jiggets. I'm a big David Collins fan.
And a turnover. Jiggets lost the handle. Brown. And a late whistle. Nechionia.
I'm just not a fan of a bounce pass in that situation. It's too slow. It allows the defender to respond. It's 3-on-1. Keep the ball off the deck.
Second foul on Banks. And Nechionia at the stripe, 83% this year. Just recovering from the flu. He's 1 of 2 at the line thus far. Make it 1 of 3. Temple would be one of those teams if it makes the tournament. You circle, maybe they get in as a 10 or an 11 seed, last 4 in.
Maybe in Dayton.
Maybe in Dayton, but you circle this team and you say, these guys are good enough to maybe make it to the second weekend. Or if they go cold, maybe they're ousted early. Hard to predict.
If you're good enough to beat Auburn and Clemson, you're good enough to play in the second weekend.
Correct. That's my point. Fresh 30 seconds. Brown, no look dish, a Flackby down low.
Josh Brown, 361 career assists now.
Threaded the needle on that pass. Back to a 7-point lead. Terrence Samuel, mid-range, and a misfire.
Samuel has really struggled here lately.
And he'll pick up the foul, his second, right across the timeline.
Samuel only has 2 points in his last 2 games and has been 1 for 11 from the field and firing blanks here again today.
Manderson checks in. Shacheka out for the Bulls. Temple coming out with a renewed sense of urgency to start our second half. And right on cue, Josh Brown off the shin.
Wasn't a great pass, but you could tell by Josh Brown's reaction, he felt like he should have had it.
I'll ask you this question as well as we start our final 20. You've coached here at USF. You know what it's going to take for this program to take the next step with a first-year head coach as Jiggets off the mark, and Manderson with a putback. Brian Gregory inherited this program at ground zero, and it's not easy to build it up.
It's a tough recruiting sell, and he talked to us about that today. But he feels like they do have some things that they can offer, and the facilities, the practice facility, the Sun Dome. I know you like the weather.
Weather's beautiful. Austin Jr., the spin and the finish. It's going to take some time. Brian Gregory knows that. I think this fan base understands that. Meanwhile, Austin Jr. now in double figures for the 5th consecutive game. This is the guy that's got to get going. Numeral 0 in white. Banks comes up short. Manderson on his rear end.
Takes him out. USF only has one left.
Yeah, and that could be an issue with 15 plus to play. Not a good start of the second half for David Collins. The freshman gives it up. The Flackby, skip pass, and Echionia.
That's almost picture-perfect execution in transition, except for the shot.
Mark Bull's in that danger zone. You don't want to let this lead swell to double figures.
Rose read the lob.
That was too easy for him to pick that one off. Little Euro step, back iron. Collins will push tempo. Inside. Malik Martin, the basket.
4-point swing. Temple not able to finish at the rim. Martin does for the Bulls.
Big day of college basketball here on ESPNU. We'll send you out to Big 12 country when we're done. Here in Tampa. Rose, a brick, and a foul as we head the other way.
Fundamental block out. David Collins, the young freshman, plays a lot older than his 18-year-old body suggests.
Flackby just picked up his third.
Collins again moves the ball ahead. Martin with the easy little two-handed baby schwackums. I told you would like David Collins.
He's got a solid build to him in his first year. Generally makes good decisions. He's been shooting much better lately.
But
I like the demeanor.
He has a little grit to him.
Yeah. Nearly turns it over here. The jump ball arrow favors USF.
But he's wanting one of his teammates to get open to start the execution in the half court. And that's what they're talking about.
USF's only conference win coming at Tulane this year. Bulls just 6-9 inside the Sun Dome. And what would a win mean here today? The future for Brian Gregory. Manderson, pump fake. Why not? He's got 12.
He's been the difference maker for the Bulls. Block to block, the big fella.
Damian Moore checking in for Temple, number 23 for the Owls, as does Nate Pierre-Louis. Nine on the shot clock. Austin Jr. directing traffic and launches for three. 14 points for Shiz.
Never seems to get out of control, does he? We talk about the freshman Collins. You know, Shiz Alston, it feels like he's a ninth-year guy. But he's just a junior.
Well, and that would be another reason I like Temple in the postseason. You've got guards that can create their own shot. You've got guards that can shoot. You've got a spark off the bench in Pierre-Louis, who's emerging.
Here's the struggle for Temple today. That 4 for 16 shooting from beyond the arc, because in their last 4 games, they've been 40% from bonus land.
Scoring more than 80 points per contest in the process. Collins one-on-one, attacking, and the finish.
Fearless.
Lead dwindles to 4. Austin Jr., brilliant jump stop, rolls it in. He's fun to watch when he's got it going.
But it's a tug of war on tempo. You can feel it. Every time Temple gets early offense, USF wants to settle things down, slow things down.
Manderson almost in slow motion with a bounce and a chance for 3. Wins are already there with the victories against Clemson and Auburn.
It's almost like they need to pad the resume.
Well, and the schedule perhaps is a little bit more manageable down the stretch. Manderson missed the free throw. Back to USF.
That won't please Fran Dumpy. Way too quick. Samuel read the corner pass.
was talking with ESPN Director of Recruiting, Paul Biancardi, before this game. He said Dunphy's done a great job recruiting, as you see Lenardi's bracketology update. And arguably, he's got his best class coming in. So whatever happens this year, he's got more talent coming in next year. And Isaiah Manderson may be having himself a career afternoon. He's got 16.
Big-time move by the big fella. You know who else is moving up the chart? Mississippi State.
Ben Howland resurrecting that program from the dead. They've won 4 games in a row in the SEC for the first time since '08. Another turnover for the Bulls. The lead is just 2.
Poor pass and exchange between Mormon and Moore.
Manderson's 16 points are a career high. 5th-year senior out of the Bronx, working hard. Brown against Brown. Five to shoot. Jiggets 1-on-3, and an offensive foul.
Again, a Flackby sacrifices the body to draw the charge, do the dirty work, the little things. Shot clock late. Jiggets drives to the rim, which is the right play. But the better play is the charge taken by Ernest Flackby.
Flackby with 3 personals. Had he gotten the 4th, that would have been critical.
Roy, don't you feel like Temple has landed the first couple of blows in the second half, and now USF has got the fight back in them?
Absolutely.
They pushed back.
Yeah. And that is what you expect on the road in this conference. You hear leagues around the country, they boast about, well, we've got no easy outs. Maybe a month ago, USF was that easy out in the American, but no more. Proving that against UConn on the road last week, and again here today against Temple is the foul.
You know what else it proves? It proves the quadrant system, why it was developed. The very thing that you're talking about, how hard it is to win on the road. And to better equate those road wins as compared to home wins.
Jiggets just picked up his 2nd. Nearly halfway through our second half in a 2-point game. Austin Jr.'s had the hot hand. He's got 7 to shoot here. Wants it. Takes it. And a fresh 30 as Rose collects. The elbow jumper is good for Quentin Rose.
Flackby did not get that rebound, but he kept the ball alive.
He missed the majority of the first half with those 2 fouls. Temple's a different team when he is in the mix defensively. Samuel, bad pass and a steal. Austin Jr. to Quentin Rose, and the finger roll.
Any of 3 guards can run the floor and run the transition opportunities for Temple with a high level of skill.
Brown, wild shot. Banks can't corral it. It was fouled over the back. Well, this afternoon on ESPN, another Sonic blockbuster. The top 5 matchup inside the Big Ten. Number 3, Purdue. 4th-ranked Michigan State. 4 o'clock on ESPN, and of course the ESPN app. Saturday showcase games brought to you by 5 Hour Energy.
Who you have in that one?
Have the Spartans.
Me too.
Michigan State.
I agree. At home at the Breslin Center.
Last foul went against Anecchionia, and that'll be his 2nd. And then Josh Brown picks up his 1st, so Temple with 4 team fouls. USF with 5. Five on the shot clock for Jiggets. He's had himself an off afternoon, and that continues.
Flackby with the quick hands.
2 free throws coming up for Quentin Rose. Now Justin Brown Tried to stop the drive, could not do it.
This is why coaches chart deflections. Late in the possession, Brian Gregory's team tried to run a late pick and roll. But Ernest Aflakpee, and here's the tough thing, he won't get credit for the steal.
Rose with 10 points, make it 11.
Watch this, Roy. Aflakpee is the helper in the green area, the paint. Shows, has his hands up, deflects the ball off the window, and away go the Owls. Nice play by Aflakpee.
And Rose will cash in one of 2 free throws and commit the silly foul.
Just no need. All it does is get, when you foul 80, 85 feet from the basket, all it does is get your opponent to the bonus that much sooner.
Okay, the man with the plan, Isaiah Manderson, back in. A career high 16 already on 8 of 10 from the floor, I might add. Markey tossed up that one air ball halfway through the first half. Since then, he's been rock solid. 3 teams in the field as it stands now, according to Joe Lunardi, out of the American. Will Temple or SMU be the 4th? And there's Jiggets. Second field goal, first 3 ball. He's got 6.
Smart play by Manderson there.
And every run made by the Owls has been countered by USF. Alston Jr. off the mark. The stick back by Rose and one. Where did he come from?
High flying Quentin Rose, weak side rebounding. That's why we talk about being active. Rose is at the top of your screen outside the arc. You don't get that rebound if you just stand and watch. Be a participant on the offensive glass.
3rd foul on Collins, 3 the hard way for Rose. And Quentin Rose suddenly exploding with 14 points.
Tough when you get a second chance opportunity like USF did, the kick out, the 3-point shot, and then Temple answers with an and-one.
Collins will feed Manderson against Aflakpee. And a steal by Alston Jr. 3-on-1. And stepping out of bounds was Their NCAA tournament lives are the Owls this afternoon.
Not a birdie hole for them, but it certainly would be a bad time for a bogey.
Owls have won their last 4. They've scored more than 80 points per game in the process, and the offense has come to life here in our second half. Brown, an open look, top of the key, and it's all net.
Again, Aflakpee plays a major role. Great kick out.
Brown in double figures. The lead is 10. Largest advantage of the afternoon for the Owls. Bang, step back triple, air ball and well short.
Never had his feet set. Don't shoot if you don't have your feet set.
And the counter on the other end, and Echionia, the big-time triple.
Watch out. Owls, maybe for the first time today, are smelling blood in the water.
And Brian Gregory said Fran Dunphy's program left for dead after an 0-4 start in the American. Collins attacking, draws the contact against Alston.
How about the fact that out of the timeout, Brian Gregory calls up David Collins' number? Is that confidence in your freshman?
Well, he told us today that he really likes how he's been playing. The lights coming on, maybe past that freshman wall, becoming more of a leader. 8 on the shot clock. Martin, the transfer from Southern California. Dangerous pass picked off by Aflakpee. And on the other end, hack from behind. Justin Brown picks up his second.
That's why in transition, when you have a 3-on-1 opportunity, I'm not a believer in putting the ball on the deck. Great decision by Rose. Why not reward the guy that has kind of impacted the game in other ways than just scoring?
Ernest Aflakpee
does struggle at the free throw line, 55%. Matter of fact, Fran Dunphy's team 10th in the league in free throw shooting. That surprises me. Go down to quality wins. I'm going to remind everybody about this. There's no team in the country with those kinds of quality wins. Number 4 in the RPI, number 9, 23 on the road at SMU. But there's no team with those wins that has the combination of bad losses like Temple as well.
Auburn right now leads the SEC. Clemson's in second place in the ACC. Jiggets tried to split the double team. Pops out to Collins. Rose clears. To me, and I think to your point, this was a play-in game today for the Owls. You can't lose this. I think your resume survives, even with those Q1 wins. Rose down low with a bounce.
Really a play-in second half, since we were tied at the break. Again, Rose working the offensive glass. Looks to kick out, doesn't see anybody, and goes back to the line for another and one opportunity.
The 6'8" guard, Quentin Rose, with 16 and 5.
And has not shot the ball well. But when you don't shoot the ball well, what other areas of the game can you be impactful in? For Rose today, it's going to the offensive glass.
Also in transition was a big concern for Brian Gregory. We spoke with him this week. Anderson's been quiet the last 5 minutes. And a blocking foul. Rose in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, coming up on SportsCenter with John Anderson, Kenny Mayne. That's late tonight at 12:15 a.m. Eastern. Tell you how Golden State and San Antonio concluded their matchup. Purdue and Michigan State. Zags and St. Mary's in a great underrated rivalry out west. Highlights from all those games and much more. SportsCenter, 12:15 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. It was you that was telling me how much you love that Gonzaga-St. Mary's rivalry the last couple of days.
It's Duke, Carolina on the other coast.
On the West Coast,
yeah. Here's a look at Joey Brackett's latest number 1 and 2 seeds as of this morning. The Michigan State number 2 seed surprises me a little bit, simply because they don't have but 2 quadrant 1 wins. They got a chance for one coming up, though.
Purdue, Michigan State, that game coming up at 4 o'clock today on ESPN, a Sonic blockbuster.
A little 1-3-1 by USF. Collins on the point.
Last points by the Bulls into the 12-0 run for Temple, and Austin Jr. continues his hot shooting with 19 now. And Temple in control. Oh, hard to believe this was a tie game at halftime.
I talked about in the first half, Roy, Temple, when you have this kind of game, sometimes it takes a while to play into the game. I really feel like that's what happened here today. Temple has gotten more and more engaged in the game as it's gone on. Maybe they sensed a sense of urgency in the second half. Maybe they heard us talking about, hey, right now.
I'm not going to give us the credit. Somehow I think that man over there that's been there for 12 seasons has something to do with it. That was a 4th foul and a flag beat.
You mean the guy with 554 career wins?
Yeah. 7 tournament appearances in Philly with the Owls. Won the Ivy League
10 times. All-time winningest coach in Big 5 history. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you.
Necchionia traveled. 4:03 remaining for Fran Dunphy's club on the road. Hard to win, really, in any conference. Bruce Pearl told me something great this year. He said, every coach in every league says, we got the toughest league. Yes. It's always hard to win on the road. I said, Bruce, you're right, but we still got to talk about it. Collins, an open look from the wing of Flackby, the strong board. And a timeout call by Temple inside against Jose Fernandez's USF Bulls in a top 25 clash. Both teams have won 4 in a row. Expecting about 4,000 fans here for it. Should be a great atmosphere.
I hear this Miss Mitchell is pretty good.
Kelsey Mitchell basically has led the country in scoring all year long. Can light it up, and we'll have that call for you over on ESPN2 tomorrow at 2. I'll be with Brooke Weisbrod, which should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I travel to Houston after the game and have Houston in Tulane. That'll be a resume protector game for the Cougars as well.
Now, Mike Dunleavy's done such a great job resurrecting Tulane's program. As you see, send you out to Big 12 country when we're done here in Tampa, Texas, and TCU. Jamie Dixon returning to his alma mater, getting the job done.
Yeah, they're reeling a little bit, playing without Fisher.
Right.
Have they already done enough on the resume? Because the committee always evaluates a team with injuries in a different way.
Right. Shot clock violation for the Owls.
Yeah, I don't think Fran Dumpy minds it too much at this point in time.
So Necchionia coming off the flu this past week, back in action. He's in the starting lineup after missing the ECU victory Wednesday night. And that's a good sign for Temple moving forward. What looks to be their 5th win in a row today. Manderson. Flackby, another strong board as he claims it in the sky.
Point I want to make, Roy, is if Manderson had played like this all year long, USF would have more wins.
Rose, the corner triple. Rose with 20. The lead is 20, the largest of the afternoon.
I think when you talk about Manderson and the way he's played here lately, don't you have to credit the coaching staff? Player development?
As a 5th-year senior, absolutely. We mentioned it earlier. It's going to take Brian Gregory time. He knows it. They had basically 10 new players on their roster this year. Last year was just a total train wreck. He comes in trying to get things pointed in the right direction, and I think he's got something with David Collins, the freshman guard. 2 on the shot clock of Flackby. Foul from behind by Banks.
We talked about Temple and their resume opportunities. Here's a look at their schedule to close out the year. They have a late bye in conference play. Notice on the right, they don't play from the 18th to the 25th. At Wichita State, quadrant 1 opportunity, obviously. Houston at home, just sitting just outside the top 30 at 34. Then Central Florida at home, and then at UConn at Tulsa. The Owls could really use Tulsa getting inside the top 75, which would make that a quadrant 1 opportunity.
And the Q1 definition on the road between 1 and 75 with the RPI.
And you know what people say? Well, that's too complicated. People have always talked about that with the RPI in the old days. When we talked about wins against the top 50, well, a team could move into the top 50 and change that dynamic. Wow, how good has the big guy been?
Career high 18 and a chance for one more at the line.
Has really built off that UConn game where he went for 15 points, and that was a new career high. Well, he's bettered that here this afternoon.
Henry Beard checking in for the first time.
Look at Manderson's numbers today, bordering on a double-double.
Nice road win for Temple, coming in as the heavy favorite, tied at halftime at 30 apiece, and Owls have dominated in our final 20 minutes. This will be victory number 5 in a row for Fran Dunphy's club. The offense was missing in action maybe the first 10 minutes. It picked up drastically later as Alston Jr. turns it over.
It's all about making shots. It's not complicated. Now you can argue about the quality of shot. Alston Jr. done for the day.
Ole Miss LSU coming up at 4 inside the SEC. What a job Will Wade has done. The freshman guard Tremont Waters.
They're on the outside looking in, but they are in the conversation.
I think that looks like an NIT team right now, which would be a miracle in itself, given it's just his first season. Beard fouled down low, will shoot 2.
You know why I like that play by Henry Beard? Because at this point in time in the game with a spread like this, there is no such thing as a good assist.
Now you're speaking my language. You get in off the bench. Last time he really played was back on December 2nd. You're in there to score, brother.
Absolutely, man. You're talking to the offensive guy.
1 of 2 at the line. Here, the sophomore from Seminole, Florida. Also checking in is Joey Cafaro.
That was Beard's first point this season. This will not show up in the box score, but Ernest Aflakpee was marvelous today.
Outside of those 2 early fouls, I would agree. Moorman from the corner, that's a 3. They found something with J.P. Moorman. He's going to be a weapon down the stretch that maybe the rest of the American isn't that familiar with.
Adds to the depth.
Shot clock is off and about to wrap it up here in Tampa. Brown for 3, and Justin Brown fills it up.
That seems like a little thing, Roy, but he's been 1 for 13 in his last 4. Build a little confidence.
Well, the Owls